Chapter 100. Oh, I am so glad this manga series, at the very least, has made it this far. 100 chapters. That is actually a massive accomplishment for this day and age when it comes to manga, because not many series get to 100 chapters anymore. They're always getting canceled after 20 to 30 chapters. So to see Taizai make it to 100, and it seems to have many, many more, since at the end of this chapter, we're going to have another 2 chapters next week. Ugh, the Taizai greatness is just beginning. So, I want to talk about this real quick. Now, I know a lot of people, a lot of readers are probably going to be very conflicted with this chapter, and honestly, I'm kind of conflicted myself. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't. The entire bit with Hawk coming back, as I said multiple chapters back, it was good that he died, and I was happy that we've actually had death, and to see how Hawk came back, I was like, okay, he came back, there's nothing we can do, it's done. But there was a chapter released 2 days ago, like a special chapter, chapter 98.5, if I'm correct. That's the exact chapter that was released a couple days ago, and it's actually a side story, or a flashback, to when Meliodas met Hawk for the first time. We get to see how they met. Now, from what I understood from this flashback, there's multiple things you can get. There's 2 main points. One, the backstory of Hawk, and another, how Meliodas started the Boar's Hat, how he got rid of his sacred treasure to start the Boar's Hat. So we find out a lot of stuff about that. So I just want to point out something real quick. In that special chapter, it hinted at Hawk coming back. So I was kind of prepared for Hawk to come back some way or form, reincarnated or something like that because of that chapter. Because it hints that Meliodas once had a parrot. The parrot died, and then he said that Hawk reminds him of this parrot. And then Hawk says that he actually, one time along in the past, he remembered flying. And so that instantly makes me think that Hawk got reincarnated into a pig. Like, for instance, it would make sense since he was once a parrot, Hawk, you know, the pig's name is a hawk, like a bird. So it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. So maybe he got reincarnated into the pig. But in this chapter, it's completely different from what I expected. You have it to where Hawk just, like, gets smaller. He gets like a chibi version of himself. He gets smaller, and you see a symbol on the back of him. So, a lot of questions with his revival. It definitely needs to be answered, because right now, there's going to be a lot of conflict with Hawk's revival. I know for a fact a lot of people have some conflict with this entire bit. But, let's just look at this, okay? There might be some form of foreshadowing to this event for a long time. We don't know. I mean, look at the stuff with Elizabeth's eye, okay? That was foreshadowed since, like, the first fucking chapter. So, yeah, I mean, we gotta think about this. There may be some, like, signs through the chapters of the series that may hint at Hawk's reincarnation like he did in this chapter. I can kind of look past Hawk coming back for multiple of different reasons. For one reason, we had Dreyfus and we had Hauser die in this arc. The Kingdom Infiltration arc, Hauser and Dreyfus both died. Loved the characters. I loved those 2 characters. Hauser, he was one of my favorites. I mean, I love Dreyfus, how he's like, my willpower dictates my absolute defense and stuff. I love that. I really loved those 2 characters, and to see how they died in this arc, it's sad, but I'd rather have some form of death. I mean, if Hawk's gotta come back, at the very fucking least, the mangaka, at the very least, wrote it to where we have some form of deaths. At the very least, like I said, Hauser and Dreyfus is dead, because we saw Elizabeth's power being used and it could not revive the dead. Now, speaking of Elizabeth's power, at the end of this chapter, she demonstrates she could somewhat use and control her power. It drains her stamina from what it seems, but she can use her power, and she healed Meliodas in this chapter right at the end, and you see that wonderful, beautiful hug final panel. Oh my god, that was a wonderful final panel for this arc. Oh my god. So, I wanted to actually bring up a couple things I noticed in this. I want to get back onto the topic with Hawk for a second. You saw Bond, like, say something very sad in this chapter. He walks up to the corpse of Hawk before, you know, Hawk gets revived. He's like, why does everybody I like always die? And I was like, oh, that's fucked up, man. That's sad. But, I mean, we understand that Bond is a bastard. He's a bastard and an asshole. He has been a credible bastard in this arc. Let's be honest. He tried to kill Meliodas a couple chapters back, like less than 10 chapters back. And so, yes, Bond is a dick and an asshole, but you've got to understand that's kind of sad the way he said it. Like, you know, why does everybody I love die? And I was like, that's pretty fucked up. So I'm glad at the very least Bon admitted that he was wrong. There was actually some form of character development for Bon in this chapter, because he specifically said to Hawk's corpse that, like, I'm very sorry for what I did to you, what I said, it was very hurtful and mean things. And I was like, oh my god, that's just, it just shows you Bon does have a caring heart. He's a very caring person. Now, past that part, you have Gowther come in and make fun of Hawks, like, oh, he served no purpose at all. Like, honestly, he didn't make no difference. That's exactly what Gowther said to Bond. Bond was about to wreck Gowther's face in. I just, dude, the amount of rage in Bond, but he was about to rip Gowther's head off, and it wasn't going to be reattached back on, like, whoosh. It wasn't going to be like that. It wasn't. It was going to be fucking gone, because we know Bond, when he gets pissed, look what he did to that, like, that demon. Look what he did to that fucking red demon, just crushes it. So, yeah. Speaking of the demon, I wonder what they're going to do with that gray demon corpse. That's actually a big question right now. I mean, the gray demon corpse is still there, and the demon blood can still be used to make other people like Hendrickson, so technically this ain't over right there. But anyways, looking past that, you see Merlin come in and stop the dispute between Gowther and Bond in this chapter. And there is 2 hints in this dialogue I noticed. I instantly pinpointed that was completely different from normal. As we know, a majority of the Sins' backstories are all connected, like how we found out about King and Diane's, backstory, how they were connected for a long time, and how, Meliodas and Bon are connected and stuff like that. Well, in this, it seems like we have more connections between the Sins' backstories, because there's been a massive rumor, I've seen a lot of rumors before in the past, and theories and hints, that maybe all the Sins, like all their backstories are linked, because we do know King, Bon, and Diane are linked together, because of their past. We also know Meliodas is linked to them too, and then in this chapter, we get hints that Merlin and Gowther are linked. Now, there's 2 reasons. For one, Gowther has to get new armor by Merlin. Merlin reveals that she will remake Gowther's armor. She made the armor for Gowther. And I'm like, okay, that's very interesting. Why? Why did Gowther get the special armor that Merlin made for him? Another thing is, there is a dialogue box that actually fucking shocked me. Very hard to notice. Yeah, it's really hard. Usually, when Gowther talks, it's always in a square. Like, well, that's a horrible square. Always like a rectangular square. That's usually what, Gowther talks in when you see him talk. Like, very monotone. Well, in this, when Merlin's talking to Gowther, you see it to how Gowther actually has a circle-type bubble that shows, like, some form of emotions. When he's like, my armor's gone. So I'm like, so clearly, Gowther does have emotions from what we see, and he actually showed emotions for once. So there's definitely a massive connection between Merlin and Gowther in this chapter. Clearly, a massive. And this brings up an old theory I saw at Chibi a long time ago, and even I actually theorized when I first was introduced to Gowther. That's what I thought. I always thought that Gowther was an homunculi. That's exactly what I thought Gowther was. And in this chapter, it seems a little bit more plausible how Gowther could be an homunculi, because Merlin is, a mage, a wizard, can, just use magic. And in this, I mean, why would Merlin make armor for a specific person, especially Sin, unless, there's deep connection? Maybe, Gowther was an homunculi made by Merlin. That could be a possibility. Another thing I do want to say is that Merlin reveals that she can use, like, demon magic, like demon realm magic. Like, she healed the king that was very sick by Hendrickson, and healed the king with demon realm magic. So right here, what this reveals is not all demon kind blood or whatever, Merlin used is 100% bad. Unless Merlin is evil, because it's still not entirely off the table with Merlin, because we don't know why Merlin knocked out Meliodas a long time ago. We still don't know that information, so we still got to wonder, why did Merlin do that? And it also makes me wonder, like, is there some form of connection between Merlin and Hawk? Because Merlin didn't seem very amused when Hawk came back to life in this chapter. If you look closely, Merlin was just like, yeah, like nothing happened, like she expected it. So, it makes me believe that maybe the reason why Meliodas was knocked out in the first place, like, how that special chapter was, it could be because Merlin put him there to meet Hawk. But we'll have to see. There's just a lot of theory crafting going on. One more thing I do want to talk about is the sacred treasure to Meliodas. It is revealed Meliodas' Sacred Treasure's design is revealed. It looks like a Persian-type sword. That's exactly what I thought when I saw that sword, or the Sacred Treasure that Meliodas sold off to make the Boar's hat. It looked really badass, and I have a good feeling, or a sickening feeling, that next arc is going to be hunting down the remaining sin and finding the Sacred Treasure of Meliodas, because there is no reason the mangaka would actually draw Meliodas' Sacred Treasure if they were not going to try to get it back. So that's what I want to say right now. Now, one last thing I do want to mention. I'm sorry, I gotta mention one more thing. There is that awesome little, hint that, Gilfunder is about to pop the question with Margaret. He's about to pop that question I want to marry Margaret in this chapter. Did you see that? I want to talk with the king. You see Gilfunder say that to the king. He's definitely going to announce that he's in love. Oh my god, that's going to be badass if he does that. But anyways, tell me your thoughts on this chapter of the 7 Deadly Sins. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? What would you rate this chapter? Honestly, I would rate this chapter a 7 or 7.5 out of 10, somewhere around in there. Tell me your thoughts. You all be safe and have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.